Welcome to St. Johns River, Three Forks Conservation Area. This is part of the St. Johns River upper headwaters or upper river marsh. You'll find it looking on FWC. That's the main parking area. Got a nice little pavilion with a grill. Almost never see anybody use it, but it's there. Show you a couple of the amenities. We got a couple bathrooms. These bathrooms are basically porta potties that don't move. No running water. Men's and women's. Once again, no running water. Got a nice boat launch. Gets a lot of traffic at the boat launch. Some of the best bass fishing in the state can be done here, just not at this ramp. I've never caught anything at this boat ramp. But if you got a small boat, you can get pretty far out there, and there are some really good big mouth bass fishing out here. So these are the boat launches, and the water's actually up pretty high right now, which is abnormal for winter. We're moving into the dry season. Usually the water comes down several feet here. If you got a boat and you launch here, the only direction you can go is the way he's going. And he's gone. Now, off in that direction, down where you see those trees, there is a hunter's walk-in. It's a raised road. I've used it several times. You can walk miles out there. There is a hunter's shelter or hiker's shelter, depending on how you want to look at it, approximately 9 miles out. Usually got some good wildlife here. This area is very popular for duck hunters. You can't really go that way with a motorboat, but you can take a kayak that way. And then the main way to go with a boat with a motor is right there. About a mile south of here, there's a crossover. You take a right and you go out into a very large area that the state of Florida flooded specifically to create this area. Big, shallow wetlands area. These floating docks make a lot of noise. You ain't sneaking up on a fish on this thing. Just south of the launch point, that raised area right there is a road. And it goes all the way down to where that crossover point is, and then loops down and around way back into the wildlife management area. You can hike it, but it's off limits to any vehicles except FWC and Brevard County Sheriff. Without special permission, of course. And it's a pretty nice little boat launch. Not far from here in this area, easily accessible by boat, are a couple of old Indian burial mounds. It was a rather large legal battle for several years about flooding this area because of the Indian burial mounds. Eventually the state of Florida won that, because apparently there are no living descendants of that tribe that was able to come forth and claim them. So there's at least 3 known burial mounds that are out there that they flooded. It's a fairly peaceful place to visit. It gets a lot of traffic though. A lot of people coming out here just to walk around, and a lot of people coming out here to hike. Fairly popular with various different fishing and hunting communities. I myself taken a bicycle down this hunting path that's just a little bit up here, that high area in front of us. Also walked it several times. I don't recommend walking it. It's just a really long walk with no cover whatsoever. You're just up on the road, and the road's running on top of the berm, and it just goes for miles. And if it happens to be a hot day or a rainy day, you're just in the full elements. It's a pretty wildlife friendly area though, which is kind of the point. It's a conservation area. They basically created what used to be here at one point. This used to be nothing but marshland here, and in the 1950s the Army Corps engineers came through and they dug a bunch of canals and they drained most of this area. By doing what they've done here, this used to be a ranch not that long ago, maybe a little over a decade ago. Rerouted the way the water works and flooded this zone. Came out and they planted a lot of native plants, particularly grasses. Did a lot of engineering. You got different sections that are kind of squared off, and one section will be flooded to a certain point, like this section right here. Very seldomly is holding standing water, but it's still marshy. Just wet enough that when you walk through it squishes. If you step wrong, you go straight to your knees in muck. The next block, or next several blocks, are flooded 4 to 8 feet deep. They're in that direction, just on the other side of that next raise right there, which is probably 300 yards from here. And that first one is a shallow. The shallowest one at 4 feet. And after that, you got a couple that are 8, 10. Depending on whether it's wet season or dry season. But this first one is just basically a sea of grass. All that grass out there is important. It's filtering the water that comes in to it first, filters through it, and goes into the next section, purifying the water. And it is just a sea of grass. It's very, very wildlife rich. I've seen deer, turkey, raccoon, possum, alligators, turtle, more birds than I can name. A lot of songbirds this time of year. That goes all the way out to that line of palm trees out there, and that's where the road turns and heads back north. There's another paddock on the other side, and that paddock is very similar to this one, but it doesn't hold any water except during the wet season. So during the dry season, it's basically a big field. and go one more paddock over to the second line of trees out there, and you got a canal that connects in with the flooded areas. And if you know your way through the canals, you can make it all the way to the St. Johns River itself and Lake Helen Blazes. No, it's kind of best to do that with an airboat because you never know when an area is going to be dry out here. One big sea of marshy grass. I'd say it's a couple miles long, maybe a half a mile wide. It's an interesting area to fish and hunt. If you want to come out here and do something like that, be prepared to go pretty long distances. Last time I was here, looking through here, I could see white-tailed deer bouncing out there. I don't see any today. I keep the edge of it right there fairly well maintained. They come through and essentially mow it. Now, legally speaking, I can't be up here on this hill and hunt. I've got to go down into that and past the clearing. Like I said, this spot here is really marshy. It's not really something you want to walk out into, but there are other spots that you can take that are rather nice. And we have our first airboat arrival since I've been here. One airboat behind that truck, the white one. It's a nice area to visit. If you like going on long hikes, walking down the Hunter's walk-in area, a really nice place to go. And it goes for miles. I don't know how far the loop is. I think the furthest I've been back there on foot was 12 miles. And it was still going. Somewhere way out there, I can see them on the maps when I look at this area, is a group of open to the public rustic cabins, and they're way out in that general direction. And as far as I can tell, the only way to access them is by airboats. I didn't see any way to walk to them. I didn't see any way to take a bike. The water is on and off onto where you can actually take a boat with a motor. So, I mean, there were areas out there where if you brought something that would allow you to take a canoe or a kayak over a couple 100 feet of dry ground, you could do it that way. But in general, they're out there for the airboaters, and they're way out there. Said you can see them on the maps. There's also a couple spots out here that are open for through hikers to be able to camp. I've never found one, but they're on the maps. Now, this is what you get at the parking spot here. A couple of bathrooms with no running water, a pretty decent boat launch, and a couple loops that you can go walk around. They're technically hunter walk-in access, so don't get upset walking through there if you see somebody walking by with a firearm. That's what this place is for. It is a hunting preserve. A lot of fishermen access it because of the water. Trust me, those people with the firearms that are walking out there are absolutely no danger to you whatsoever. Unless you just happen to be trying to rob them, then you're going to have a problem. A lot of birds that come through here though. I was hoping I'd see some pink spoonbills today, but I don't see them here today. Here's the general site map. We are here. And there's the little tent-like things are where camping is approved, and the one that says bulldozer camp, that is actually where the cabins are located that are open to the public. This over here is the hunter's walk-in, and you can take it all the way down to Fellsmere Road. The furthest I've ever been is right where Willow Shelter is. This area right here is mostly dry. There's several raised roads, old logging roads that are through there that break it up into different areas, and there's a bunch of different little ponds out there. So if you want to make a day hiking and hunting at the same time, bring a fishing pole with some nice lures and your shotgun, and the place is just absolutely full of duck. Just kind of part of what they actually built this for was for the duck hunters, but it's just a really nice conservation area. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.